Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about an infidelity case I did back in about 2012, 2013. And I like to keep all of my clients' information confidential. So for this interview, we'll call her Jane. Jane was thinking there was something going on with her husband she wasn't too sure about. Everything's kind of changed with him. She was married for about over 20 years. She actually had a couple kids. They were empty nesters, looking forward to retiring together. The kids are all out of the house. She started getting concerned, so she called a local attorney and told the local attorney she has some suspicions about her husband having an affair because he was starting to change. He got a new hobby. He was going hunting all the time, and that was something new for him. He was also not doing any of the household duties. He wasn't mowing the lawn anymore. He wasn't taking out the trash. He was hiding his phone. He even put a lock on his phone so nobody could get into it. So that went on for about 6 months, and she started getting really suspicious about things. Their sex life had come to a halt. So she called the local attorney, somebody who I've been working for the last 15 years, and she kind of expressed her concerns to this attorney. And this attorney is a very good attorney, and she said, listen, why don't you find out what's going on before you file for a divorce or we file any paperwork? Let's make sure there's actually something going on. So she was referred to me by the attorney. She gave me a call. She kind of told me everything that was going on, how long it had been going on. And it had been going on now for about 6 months, 6 to 8 months. So she thought something was up. She said, hey, I really like it that he got a hobby to go hunting, because that way he can do things with the boys and kind of chill out, and maybe it'll help their marriage. But she noticed the more he was going away with the boys, the less he was doing at home. The affection had stopped, the sex had stopped. He wasn't doing anything around the house anymore. He was losing interest in his life, according to her. So she called me up, and we talked on the phone for about 40 minutes, and she was telling me her story. A lot of times clients want to get it off their chest. They have all this stuff to say they've been holding in for so long, and so she wanted to tell somebody. So I listened to her, and she told me about an upcoming hunting trip. Now, what was unusual about this hunting trip is he was going about 5 or 6 miles away. So this was definitely going to be the longest surveillance I've ever conducted since being a private investigator. So what I did at that point is she told me initially he was going to pick up his friends, and then they were shooting off to this hunting site, which is about 5.5, 6 hours away. So I got all the information, set up surveillance on it, and he took off just as planned. Started heading toward, I'll keep the location confidential, but he's heading toward the location that she said he would be going. The only hiccup in this was he didn't pick up any friends. He just shot on the freeway and he was gone. So at that point, I had some suspicions that something was going on, but maybe it was harmless. Maybe his friends were going to meet him there. I didn't want to jump to any conclusions on things, so I just went ahead and followed him. Now I'm following him, and the location we're going is really flat. There's no mountains, there's long strips of highway. So following him was a little difficult. I had to give him about a half a mile, because you don't want the same car in the back of you the whole time you're traveling. You'll catch on sooner or later. Remember, this is a 6-hour drive I'm doing. During the surveillance, he's stopping to get gas, he's stopping to get something to eat. So I do what they do. If they stop and get gas, I stop and get gas. If they stop and eat, I eat. You kind of got to do what they do so you can keep on the schedule with them. Otherwise, you're not going to eat, and you definitely don't want to run out of gas. So anyway, I'm following him, and about 5.5 hours later, he goes straight to a hotel room. Now, when we get there, it's nighttime, so it's a little bit difficult to see. Now, I notice he parks in the parking lot of the hotel. However, he just sits in the car. He sits in the car for about 30 minutes or so. After about 30 minutes, another car drives up. Now, what I do is when I connect people, I get license plate numbers, I run the place, and I find out who the people are. So the other car pulls up, and the problem I'm having is it's pitch black. I can't see a thing. I mean, it is dark. We're in the middle of nowhere. There's no street lights. There's no lights in the parking lot of this old hotel that looked like it was built in the 40s. But anyway, they get out of the car and they start walking toward the hotel room. Now I can make out it's a female and I know it's him. My problem is I have no light at all. I'm filming and I'm looking back at my camera and it's pitch black. Now remember, I've already driven 6 hours to get to this spot, and my shot is 5 to 10 seconds long, and if I miss it, I just drove 6 hours for absolutely nothing. So I had to take a chance at this point. So what I did was I lined up my car with one of the doors I thought they were going to go into approaching the hotel. I knew it had to be like one of 3. So I positioned my car and I left my camera running, and as soon as they hit the door, I hit my lights. So I just looked like a car was starting in the parking lot, and the lights came on. But as they went into the hotel room, I actually got the shot, and it was him with a female. Now I got like a side view of her, so I really didn't get her face. So what I did at that point, I did a follow-up to the license plate of the vehicle she was in. Got the license plate number, videotaped that license plate number, videotaped their cars together, and ran the name to the plate. Now at that point, my surveillance is pretty much over because I've got him going into a hotel room with a female, and that's pretty much all the client needed at that point. So now the only thing left in my investigation to do is run this plate, find out who this person is, and I did that. I got all the information on the person he met at the hotel. Interesting thing is the license plate came back to a license plate in the city I originated from. So my assumption was at that point, that person drove from the city I was driving from also, which means she could be from where he was at, located in the same city. I didn't know at that point. So anyway, I got all that information. I drove back to the city I originated in, and I went ahead and got the name, wrote the report, presented the video. Now here's the back end of surveillance is, when you know you're gonna have to deliver bad news to a client, you have to be very careful in how you submit that news to them, because there's a couple things you don't want to do. First of all, their whole world is collapsing. They've been married over 20 years. You're going to give them some news that's going to collapse their world. So you want to have some sort of support staff. So what I usually do is call up the client and say, hey, do you have a good friend you can bring with you so I can show you the video, show you the report? And she said, sure, I do. So I met her at a coffee shop, and she brought a friend with her. Now she already knows something's wrong because I'm meeting her in person. I'm not telling her anything over the phone at that point. I want to try to keep it as vague as possible, because what I don't want to do is create an incident. So the one thing I didn't want to do is tell her where he was at with this female, because as a private investigator, you got to make sure you don't make people's situation worse. Scenario would be something like this. I would call her, tell her, yeah, he's at this hotel with this lady. She gets in her car, drives to the hotel, and ends up killing them both or doing something stupid. So you got to be careful that you don't make a situation worse. It's already bad. But as a PI, you don't want to increase the likelihood of violence to come out of anything you're reporting. So at that point, I met her with her friend, and she was pretty devastated. But here's the surprise in the story. The woman going into the hotel with her was her friend of over 20 years. She has known her and her husband for the whole time they've been married. So luckily I brought a support staff for her, and she was able to get through things. I still hear from this client to this day. She's doing extremely well. She's no longer married, and she's glad she found out what was going on so she can move on with her life. So that is my surveillance story, one of probably hundreds that I'll be bringing you. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. My name is David Watson with Watson PI Services, helping people navigate through difficult circumstances.